Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Before we start the meeting, we have some presentations to do to the Economic Development Group. Bob and Gary are also here today and can help me thank these people. So the list is Alan Cooper, Lorraine Dick, Sandy Mark, Richard Faustin, Michelle Garrison, Teresa Taylor, and Hazel Thomas. This morning, I think we have Alan here, Lorraine, and Sandy. And Richard, is Richard here?
Yeah, Richard's.
Ah, Richard. Okay, so we could do them one at a time, or we could do them together. I'm going to read out what we've written here on these plaques, and then maybe we could get together and include Gary and Bob in the picture. The City of Grand Forks would like to extend a profound thank you to the EDAC for the hard work and vision that the committee has provided to this city over the past 2 years. The accomplishments of EDAC were numerous and demonstrated an above and beyond scope with regard to the time and energy that was shared by the committee members. The City of Grand Forks has blossomed into a vibrant community, and much of the growth seen over the past couple of years was in part due to the ideas and initiatives of EDAC brought to the table. The focus of the committee on tourism, business retention, and expansion projects produced several positive outcomes for the community. It was EDAC that identified the need for the welcome signage, branding of the community, downtown beautification, and the promotional video that we've just got, all to attract business and families and create an awareness to a broader audience that Grand Forks is great and worth a stopover. At recent UBCM conference, the City of Grand Forks, along with 8 other communities, won an Open for Business award from the BC Small Business Roundtable, which clearly demonstrates the city is on the right track. In closing, the city gratefully acknowledged the contributions of the Economic Development Advisory Committee in helping to create a vibrant and successful community. So our winning this award down there really was a result of a teamwork between our staff and this EDAC committee and our council. So thank you all very much. And if you'd like to come up, we'll stage a picture here. So Alan, Lorraine, Sandy, and Richard.
Oh, sorry, man.
And Gary and Bob. Gary.
Where do you come up to where? Where do you want us?
I'm sure. Who's taking the picture?
Dee Dee.
Dee Dee. Gary. Stage it, Dee Dee. What do you want?
Oh, okay.
Probably not for us. Where the it's lighting before.
Yeah. And,
Over there.
Stand just along here.
Just along there.
Looks like a nice one, this spot here.
Or up here. Might work.
Go ahead. One.
Yes, watch the cords.
Watch the cord.
thank you.
Definitely.
I'm a Richard. Door on the screen. Richard, you got the Sandy one. Richard, thank you. Sandy. And I won't be shaking any hands today since I have a cold. I'm just gonna. Oh yeah.
I'll stand by Richard. And everybody, you had better look.
All right. Again, thank you all very much. It's like economic development. It's like grabbing sand.
You got a cold?
Herding cats. There we go.
Let's keep the cold debate.
The thing tougher than the economic development is the beer committee.
Combine them.
All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is a committee of the whole meeting. For those that are here for the first time, we take participation from the audience. So as we go through, I'll recognize people who raise their hand during the question portion of any of the presentations this morning, with reference not to council, but to whoever raises their hands. That's the routine, and I'll call the meeting to order. Find my glasses. The agenda for this evening, a motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Smith, Councillor Doherty, all those in favor. And we have as our first delegation this morning a verbal report to committee of the whole on the update of our strategic plan. Mr. Allen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me. Mr. Mayor, what I'd like to do today is just give you an update on the council strategic plan that was developed when when council was elected after the last election. It was led by the outgoing CAO, that actually happens to be here at Lindbergh. But the council strategic plan that was adopted in February of 2012 led through all the initiatives, and really it leaves a legacy of what the council sought to do over their term. And what it did was allow a platform for the community to see which direction the community was going to be going, with the input from the stakeholders, from staff and council. Council getting their input from their constituents, and the staff providing some direction, which would be legislative or beyond, or for staff or for council to make sure they have to do. So what it is, there was an overview of council strategic planning. So we went through that. The vision was to create the values, the corporate values. The Garden City, which was the growing responsibility, accountability, resilience, diversity, efficiency, and natural beauty. And we move into the city, collaboration with integrity, innovation, transparency, and young at heart. So bringing it back to those corporate values, we try to keep those in mind as we move forward. We strive to make sure that we execute as staff. We move to execute all of these objectives. So when council passed the first objective, regional service integration, and who was going to be responsible for that, we went through and we looked at all these different things that we could obtain or work on, but there were some realities that we couldn't actually physically accomplish any of those, but we could move towards them. So we had regional service integration. We had succession planning. Where is the organization going to be? What are we going to do for the future, and how are we going to look over the course of time? Economic stimulation, infrastructure replacement and strategy. So we had to think about that from our asset management perspective. We had to think about the deer issue, and over the 3 years, council was going to endeavor to find a solution to this situation, and sustainability actions in public works, looking at the water meters, developing a water meter implementation plan, operational priorities. We had several operational priorities that had to be achieved over that 3 years. And these were laid out in asset management, strong focus on asset management, fiber optics, the cemetery rehabilitation, the lift station, the west and east side sign entrance, airport lighting, and carbon neutrality. And when we look back on some of these things, you can see how they were all accomplished, but it took the vision of council at that time to bring these up as action items the staff was going to complete. We had advocacy priorities, policing, low-cost housing, Auditor General, Audit Commission. The summary of the goals were laid out in this plan. And then we moved back into when we were going to be accomplishing these. What I'm going to be doing now is moving towards what we've done. And this is a bit of a snapshot of what you said you were going to do over your term as council. So I'm happy to say to date, since the project or the plan was adopted by council, we can say that the plan has almost been completed. There are a few strategic priorities that we weren't able to accomplish. That was regional service integration, but we can look at some of the things we moved towards in that respect. So, is it on now? Put this in. Somebody want to speak to it. So each year we like to give an overview to council of what we've done, what you've been able to accomplish, and are we moving in the right direction? Council will then let us know if staff is achieving those priorities and what else they might like to see, because sometimes councils have to move left or a little bit right to achieve specific priorities. The City of Grand Forks City Hall, in a great picture here. We'll talk a little bit more about where we are with the City Hall. The strategic plan key points were regional service integration, sustainability action, succession planning, deer management, economic stimulation, and asset management, and then some. When we talk about and then some, these are the priorities that we have to meet. Legislative, we don't have any options there. If we get told we have to do this by a higher level of government, we must then achieve that. So the regional service integration, council actively participated along with many community members in the Kettle River watershed study. And again, council made specific directions and decisions in that direction to support the Kettle River watershed study, to support the long-term protection of the Kettle River, which is an important asset to our community and region. We took on the building inspection services, which led to a significant improvement in our service delivery. Airport discussions, we talked about that. We talked about long-term planning with the regional district, how we're going to be managing the airport long-term. We've seen some growth in the airport recently, but again, we're still not done there when it comes to the long-term planning. Fire department service agreement was the dissolving of the Grand Forks, the improvement area. The regional district took over the fire service, and then we entered into an agreement with the regional district. Emergency management, in the event of a disaster, we have an agreement in place with the regional district for provision of services. Ongoing initiatives and discussions, community forests, weed control program, regional waste facility. These are ongoing initiatives that we're involved with regionally. Sustainability action items. So we moved towards sustainability in the environment. So the environment committee was struck, but along the way there were other items that we had to address. The water metering program, the level 2 award recognized by UBCM for the climate action achievements, which council endeavored to embark upon. The environment committee led that process. The bat houses, the Brazilian students that we brought in over the last couple of years brought in $250,000 worth of in-kind engineering to our community, which reduced the burden from our constituents of that type of taxation. So the Brazilian students were very, very valuable to us, and that helped lead us into the riparian area mapping, which is a significant undertaking for the protection of the Kettle River. The weed control program, air quality monitoring, leading the way for an opportunity to develop and protect our airshed, because it is something that we have to move towards protection. The Kettle River Watershed Management Plan, which is now in draft form and for comments from our organization. We're expecting more information back from our staff here shortly, a report back. The document has been sent out for a review. The solar car competition, tree planting, community engagement, the commuter challenge. I mean, all the different activities that the environment committee took on were excellent and beneficial to our community. Succession planning, excuse me. One of the biggest challenges for our organization is when we invest into our team, where are they? And when we make changes, how much do we lose and how much do we invest into our employees? We think about an employee that's paid their salary and they've been here for 20 years. We have close to $1 million invested into each of our employees that have been here for over 20 years. So we think about that with the changing of employees, how much information they actually hold for our organization. We think about the employees that have left our organization and how much intellectual knowledge they take with them. We think about that from an investment perspective, and it's significant to our team. So we have to think about a way of transitioning that information. We're moving towards that with our GIS system, so we can capture a lot of that information. But ultimately, for planning, how are we going to plan for the aging workforce? So we've developed a casual pool, and we've been developing our team internally, and it's shown great results. The management team was restructured in 2012 to create or 2013 to create a little bit more balance in the department, so we had a bit more in the way of succession planning. And then we came up with an education plan to ensure that the employees within our team were going to be able to take the torch in the future, so we weren't constantly pulling from other organizations or other communities. And then the business alignment. We wanted to be open for business, so we wanted to make sure we had the ability to be open for business. So as council approved, moved in that direction, we had to make sure we were able to deliver that. Our organizational chart, you can see there's a little bit different balance in the system. I mean, just some colors and stuff, but we can see that it's balanced on both sides across the board. We have a great structure. I think we had a great structure for where we were. We have a great structure for where we're going. And in the future, there'll be another organizational structure. We won't always stay the same. And I think that's an important thing for our organization to recognize, that as we move forward in time, we will not always look the same. Deer management. The Deer Management Plan was developed in 2013. We worked in partner with the province of British Columbia, the Conservation Foundation, to initiate the Wild Safe program, which was partially funded by the provincial government. We had minister meetings with the minister in 2013 and in 2014. And of those minister meetings, it was interesting, as councillors that were there were aware that we went in with multiple communities, Oak Bay, Cranbrook, Invermere, and the minister made a commitment to develop a committee that was going to be reviewing the initiatives that are moving forward from each community. And then there's going to be the committee recommended to council to include a non-binding opinion poll in this upcoming election on deer management. So that'll be coming out here shortly. So economic stimulation, number 5 on council's strategic priorities was the Economic Development Advisory Committee recommended to council's projects such as, we went through those earlier. We talked about those and the success of those projects. The videos were the last piece that we have today, which we're going to be putting up on our website. They are complete now, and they're excellent videos. And Nick Green did an exceptional job on all the videos. The council endeavored to request staff to participate a little bit further into some new initiatives for community support. Along with Sarah and Diane's department, they came up with a family day concept and moving towards a Christmas light up this year, which will involve obviously family day included all the free events last year, which brought our community together. The Christmas light up, which we'd like to see kind of happen after the parade, and then move everybody towards the park and then move towards the light up. Provide extensive support for all the great community events that the volunteers put on in our community. Council continuing to support these events. The Street Banner program, which was done to initiate some local artwork to be exhibited throughout the community. The LED board in Kelowna, where we're constantly in West Kelowna, we're constantly our videos are constantly being shown there every day. We see about I can't remember the numbers, Sarah. How many times a day do we see our advertisements on there?
It goes 30 times an hour.
30 times an hour.
Yeah.
So we're about 30,000 hits a day that people will be seeing Grand Forks. And then council's participation in the Economic Development BC Forum, which has led to a lot of doors being open for our community. Economic stimulation being expanded on, the visitor information signs, visitor attraction to the area strategically located in high tourist areas. So these are them on the wall here, Mr. Mayor, the ones you'll see above the gallery. The Sprague Road parking lot, the development showcase, which was an important piece that when council asked for the lands inventory to be done, to showcase these lands, and it's already led to a lot of interest in our community for purchase of these lands. The ability for us to generate revenue from disposal of our surplus assets and reduce our costs as an organization. We're seeing the positive results of that. We have a presentation on October 30th at the Urban Development Institute, which is we're going to be presenting on all our lands that we have and the opportunities that exist in our community, which should further enhance our economic profile in the region. That'll be in Kelowna. We have our presentation again at the Capri that day. Here's some examples of some of the things. So our staff, we have an incredibly talented staff. Our staff in engineering developed this document here, which is brilliant. It's a roadmap for people coming into the community. It shows them all the recreation and obviously the highway signs that have received a lot of positive reviews. The Sprague Road parking lot, for those that haven't seen it, is incredibly busy this year. Again, another economic development piece for the community. Again, further on economic development, the business and retention and expansion. So we're moving towards a balanced ratio between commercial and residential tax rates. Developed a grant, the economic profile that's aimed at raising the profile of the city. Downtown beautifications for 2 years now. The chamber contract, which we're working on, and we executed last year, which moved towards them collection of business license fees to help them develop further revenue. The provincial nominee program, which is, for those that aren't aware, they came to town this year, which is the ability where immigrants can come into our community and they can pay to expedite their immigration. We are doing a presentation to their group on October 28th, and this will be in front of, I believe, 60 to 100 people that have $500,000 to expedite their way into the province through the immigration process. We're hoping to sell them some of our local businesses or local interest in our community. So we're expecting that this is going to lead to a further wave of interest in our community. We've completed the business profile. So the business profile here, and we did it in Cantonese for this presentation, which the provincial government is now marketing in China right now. And we have 4 key markets that we're looking to market in, which is South Korea, Japan, and China. Yes, those are our 4 key markets where the provincial government is currently working. So here's a couple examples of the downtown beautification. I mean, the community was already a beautiful community. We just added a few of the planters and seating areas. Moving towards the asset management piece, Mr. Mayor, The West Side Fire Protection piece, that is nearing completion now. We're ready to receive the approvals. We're ready to start the installation in early spring of 2015. The partnership with the Grand Forks Trail Society for the Chris Moslin and his team's hard work. 68th Street is now complete. We'll see the replacements that were necessary in that area. The line painting should be done shortly, and we'll have that piece of the road up and rolling. Subdivision servicing bylaw, which you're going to talk about today, which is going to be bringing back to us looking at living within our means, looking at our standards. Are we asking for too much? Are we asking for too little? But it's bringing us back to living within our means. We're currently worth $127 million as a community. We have to make sure that we don't overbuild and move towards widening our roads too wide. So we have to replace those values. We have to live currently within what we can afford to have. We replace well 3, the vertical turbine, Riverside reconductor, the boundary drive replacement of the culvert. A couple of samples of the things that we've done here. Here's 68th Street. You can see that we didn't pave all the way out here because these are the assets that we would simply have to replace. We have the Trails Group work here, which was led by Chris and his group, which significant contributions from the provincial government and the city. The infrastructure upgrades at Dick Bartlett Park, asset management program partnership with Selkirk College and Urban Systems. So this program is the education program, which is now being picked up by, that was created by our community, is being picked up by Vancouver Island University and the University of British Columbia. The alignment to the provincial, aligning with the provincial government to discuss promoted with the minister. So we discussed with COTW Oct, and interestingly enough, I mean, this was something that I encountered and I was done, and I think it was a vision of our current council in the first term, which was asset management, and the outgoing CAO at the time. But the asset management program, COTW Oct said we are the poster child for asset management in British Columbia. Grand Forks is doing it right, and other communities should be doing it our way. So they're actually pointing and congratulating our organization and our council's pieces they've had to take on. They said, you know, council's taken on a lot of tough issues, and the provincial government basically was applauding our council and just glowing at our council for all the initiatives they've undertaken, and they understand that it was tough because not all of this is easy. Council has to take on a lot of burden with these decisions they make. The staff participate. We currently participate in the Asset Management BC for provincial leadership, so we're still participating with this with the initiative and sharing our information with the province and other communities. So in our last council's strategic plan update, council asked for a little bit further in communications, a little bit more. They wanted more done in communications. So we moved in that direction. We upgraded the website. We've held multiple open houses and public engagement sessions where we seek the public's input on different devices or different ideas. Sometimes the decisions are made at that time, but the public consultation on how we implement those things is what we're seeking. And for the downtown beautification, what do you want to see? Council's approved this. And the last piece that we weren't really expecting this mirror in the strategic plan was the City Hall fire, which was a little over $1.3 million in damage. And this was the fire scene when we first walked in that morning, and this was Daphne's desk. And we can see here, it was such an intense fire. I mean, it melted things off the walls, but you can still see there was papers left on the desk. The fire was so intense. The legal proceedings have concluded, and the fellow has basically understand that he's been found guilty or pleaded guilty. It still left us with this massive project to undertake, and the 1.3 million is coming to a conclusion here shortly. We're expecting to be in sometime in December. We're hoping to be there. There's been a few delays with the insurance company, a few special challenges when we deal with this because the insurance company is not too quick to answer our requests for changes. And these aren't additions; these are just things that we found in the project that were required to be updated. You can see us now. We've moved to the drywalls on the walls, the ceiling's still exposed. Some of the walls are all framed up. So we are moving towards completion. And is it working, Mr. Mayor? I think the success is there, that everything that council endeavored to embark upon is working because it culminated in the final award this year's UBCM, where we were one of the 9 recipients of the $10,000 and the Open for Business Roundtable Award. And I think it's a testament to council's to work that it is working. And I think the proof is there being recognized by the province. Mr. Mayor, that's the update of your.
Thank you very much, Mr. Allen. And open for questions, comments?
Your worship, what other 8 municipalities received that award?
Kelowna?
Kelowna, Langley,
Vernon,
Port Coquitlam,
Surrey,
Surrey,
White Rock, was it?
Parksville.
Communities with more resources than ours to start with. So it was,
making that.
we were the smaller of the.
We were the only one under 5,000.
Yeah.
In BC.
Further.
Sorry, could we applaud right now
Further. Excellent report, Mr. Allen. We really forget all that we've done over a period of time. You look back and go, oh yeah, Family Day. I never forget about that. Novel and creative. So good job by everyone. And a motion to accept the report, Councillor Doherty, Councillor Kendall, all those in favor.
We don't need a second here. We don't need a second.
No, we don't need a second. That's
We'll get there.
We'll figure that one out.
It's pretty simple. You have a green light, that's your arrow, and you got your photo back.
Take a second here, although I know that our next guest, it gave me great pleasure to introduce Lynn Birch, the Rotary Spray Park update. Welcome this morning, Lynn.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have to say, you have been busy in the last couple of years since I've been
Well,
gone.
you set the stage for that.
Anyway, good morning, Mayor Taylor, members of council, and of course, city staff. I'm here this morning to make a presentation on behalf of the Rotary Club of Grand Forks, an update on the club's proposal to build a children's spray park in City Park. Here with me this morning are members of our Rotary Club. See if this works. Oh, good. In February of this year, our club made a presentation to council requesting your support for the spray park project and specifically requested council to support the Rotary Club's proposal to build a spray park in Grand Forks, to provide the land in City Park to build the facility, to select the park concept that council wished to build, and to sponsor foundation grant applications that the Rotary Club wished to pursue. Council indeed did all of that, including supporting the construction of concept number 3, which is what we see here in the artist's rendition. Our club would like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank council and city staff for all your support and assistance with this project today. The city has chosen the site in City Park, which will accommodate the facility, and in July of this year, members of council and Rotarians were on hand to turn the sod. We very much appreciate the city's public support of the project, and indeed the individual support from all of council and city staff. Our club advised council that we would like to see the spray park designed with a water retain and reuse system, which would see the gray water captured in an underground tank and reused in city activities such as watering flower gardens or planters, or used to flush sewer lift stations. We believe that this design will comply with the city's water conservation efforts. We advised back in February that we thought the entire budget for the spray park concept chosen would be around $300,000. At this point in time, we do not have a detailed budget for the project pending the receipt and costing of the final design, which your municipal engineers, Urban Systems Limited, has offered to do for the project on an in-kind basis. And I take this opportunity at this time to thank Scott Shepherd and his team for all their efforts to date. While we are still hopeful that the budget will remain in the $300,000 range, this is still a best guess at this time. The Rotary Club, with the city acting as a sponsor, applied for grants from the Vancouver Foundation and the Phoenix Foundation. While funding from the Vancouver Foundation was not approved, the Phoenix Foundation approved a grant in the amount of $23,000. The Rotary Club held our first ever Lobster Fest in Christine Lake Community Hall on September the 6th. To say that the event was successful was an understatement, as it surpassed all of our expectations in raising funds. Rotarians pictured here cooked lobster for 210 people. We had a phenomenal caterer, together a great meal.
Yes, the same shirt.
Thank you, Neil. Mayor Taylor and Councillor Wires also attended the lobster dinner, and we thank you for your support and hope you had a great meal and a great time. Even city staff stepped out for the occasion, and we thank them as well. The hall was packed. There was no way we could have fit another table and chairs in, although we had some 40+ people on our waiting list. As the event was held in Christine Lake, even some of the locals showed up. The Lobster Fest evening, including the silent auction and the proceeds from the WestJet raffle, netted our club $30,000 for the Spring Park program. So where are we when it comes to fundraising? The Lobster Fest proceeds of $30,000, plus the Phoenix Foundation grant of $23,000, the Community Futures funding of $10,000, the Boundary Family Individual Services Society funding of $1,800, and miscellaneous spray park donations of $2,063 comes to a total of $66,863. I guess we better not forget the 50 cents. We've secured donatable items, including plumbing services. Thank you, Councillor Kendall, we appreciate that. And electrical services from Don Coppola of Verde Electric. And we have secured in-kind services, being urban systems design and engineering services, which we believe may well be valued at $35,000 or more. The total cash and in-kind services is estimated to be over $100,000. We also have commitments of revenue from the Grand Forks Fire Rescue Volunteer Fire Department Society. They have advised our club that all the revenue from the sale of their calendars this year will go towards the construction of the spray park. If they sell all the calendars, it is estimated that this revenue will be $4,000. Grand Forks Elks Club has advised us that they will contribute to the project, and we have requested a substantial grant from the Grand Forks and District Savings Credit Union. The final budget for the spray park has not been presented to our Rotary Club, pending the final design and costing of the recapture reuse of the gray water system. While the committed revenue is not yet finalized, we believe that our total cash raised, the donatable items and in-kind services, with the committed revenue, and together with the City of Grand Forks contribution, we believe we are close to our goal. Our club is now undertaking a campaign of selling cubic meters of concrete. $250 will buy a cubic meter of concrete and recognition of the park in some way. We have 40 to sell, and I believe that we have 3 or 4 already sold. This will net us $10,000. And the Rotary Spray Park Committee is putting the final touches on a sponsorship package, which we are hoping to present to businesses and organizations later this fall. We need to work with the city on how contributors will be recognized in the park and to determine the plan of how, as partners, we will move forward. While we do not wish to get mired in the details, we believe that it would be beneficial to have a concrete plan of action moving forward. Our club is keen to apply for more grants from foundations and other sources, but we need a more detailed budget to do so. So what is there left to do? Well, we need that detailed budget. Of course, we need to secure the remaining funding, including in-kind services and donatable items. Our club will spend the next few months pushing for these items. The city, working with Urban Systems, will need to obtain IHA approval before construction can begin, and we believe we need to work more closely with the city in moving forward. And that concludes my presentation, Your Worship. Let's keep going.
Great work. I mean, you've done so much, and that club is so active. And open for questions and comments.
Well done.
Councillor Dort?
I'd like to ask you, when are you planning to start the construction? That's a big word.
Yes, it is. And I think that probably has more to do with you people than it does with us.
Okay.
We would have to construct in City Park when it was feasible to do so, which probably wouldn't be in the spring when the water was really high. However, we would really like to see this constructed in 2050.
So putting recognition into the park, the Variety Club in Kelowna put hearts in cement. It was put your heart in City Park. It was a campaign. You could put your spoon in City Park or your fork. But you're looking for some creative way that we could recognize Dole.
Yeah, that's right.
Councillor Wires.
Thank you, Lynn. Excellent presentation and a spectacular project for our community.
Thank you.
The $250 cubic meter concrete that you're
Yes.
selling, the 40 of them, is that just like for the development of the base of it, or is that a recognition where you're going to put people's names?
Well,
Or,
the
or
concrete
business?
itself is the amount of concrete we need for the pad
Oh, I see.
of the spray park. We need 40 cubic meters of concrete. So
Okay,
we
that's how
thought,
you're going to pay for the concrete.
and how we're gonna pay for the concrete. That's worth about $10,000. So we thought $250 each. This is a smaller sizable donation that is more achievable for individuals and small business. And but we need to recognize them. And when you're trying to sell this, you need to be able to tell people how they're gonna be recognized. Similar to the gold leaves that we get for Gallery 2.
Thank you, Bob, for the plumbing.
Haven't done it yet, but it's there.
Further questions, comments? Hearing none. Thank you very much, Lynn. That was really excellent. You guys are just, you gotta be overwhelmed with all of this.
It's a big project,
Yeah,
but it's
keep
fun.
that kettle corn coming. And a motion to accept the report, Councillor Smith. All those in favor? Carried. All right, bringing us down to presentations from staff. The first item of business is an HVAC at the Grand Forks Library. What does HVAC stand for? Oh. Sure. Well, I read the report, so I kind of knew that, but Mr. Allen, did you want to explain the difficulties they're having there with the HVAC?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, this was included into the 2014 financial plan, but originally we had members of the board come forward, a member of the board come forward to suggest that there was something else that they wanted to consider. We considered that we would do a report first to analyze what was needed.
Right.
A little further investigation, and the board came back and supported the manager of operations endeavor. But we made a commitment to come back to council in the budget process before we embarked upon this project. So that's what we're doing today, to say that we've kind of sorted through all those pieces and we're ready to carry on. It's already included in the financial plan. It was just a commitment of us to come back to you to analyze it first, and we've done that. So
Right.
that's essentially what happened today.
And so the motion we're looking for here is just a motion of receipt. This is information on the Councillor Wires. Any questions? Councillor Kendall.
And just through your worship to the CIO, I noticed that we have one quote from one company. Are we just looking at that for information? Or are we, nothing's gone up to tender yet, or?
I believe that the manager of operations has.
You just have to step out.
Oh, he just had to step up, but the purchasing policy is there. That was basically just give a guideline of kind of what we were looking at, and we originally did this in
Two
the budget
different
process.
approaches there. One is to repair and the other is to replace.
Exactly, and the requirement would be for, according to our purchasing policy, to get 3 written quotations at this point, if it's between $10,000 and $50,000.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Further? Motion of receipt. All those in favor? All right. The next item is the City Hall progress report, and including the fact that we need to raise the money that we're making available to keep this renovation moving forward to 300,000 from
Yeah.
80, just as a buffer in terms of payments from the insurance company.
So, yeah, Mr. Mayor, and that's exactly right. We just spent the last 6 weeks trying to get approvals on a change that was required under the BC Building Code. And when we get these changes, our insurance policy says that we get those, but we need the final approval from our insurance company before we can allow the expenditure. I won't sign off on the expenditure unless it's in the financial plan or unless the insurance company is guaranteeing the money. But our contractor would simply be then packing up their tools and going home, and we wouldn't be in there until probably June or maybe August of next year. What this does is we're going to be getting these changes that are approved according to the BC Building Code. We're going to be getting. We actually just got the approval on those on Friday. I believe Roxanne, you get the approval Friday.
Well, they've requested more information now.
We got the acknowledgement from the insurance company, but we were basically going through this process, and it was taxing staff's time just to go through this process. And we're expecting that we are going to get the money. If we don't get the money, we will be in litigation with the insurance company over this because it is under our policy. The information there is requiring the details. So basically, we just need the money to make sure that we can keep the project moving. We're not spending anything above and beyond which would be approved by the insurance company.
All right, Council, this is just a receipt motion. Councilor Verschagen, further discussion, comments? Anyone have any comments on the floor? All those in favor? Carried. Next item is the status of our heritage revitalization. So we received a good report from Sasha. I wrote it, and basically reviewing where we're at with our whole heritage corridor and heritage initiatives. An excellent report, Mr. Allen.
Mr. Mayor, Sasha's had to go home this morning. She came in today, but I think she got the plague today. And she had to go home with it, so I sent her home. But essentially, we want to let council know you've done all this work on this project. We were trying to get through some of the other initiatives in the strategic plan, but we've identified this as still one of the things that council is working on. We're trying to make sure that council's aware of what you've done on this. This is not something that we've just simply shelved and we're not dealing with. Council still asked for this to happen, and essentially we are carrying on with this project. We just wanted to make sure council knew where we were. But it is a great project. It keeps the heritage in the community, and that's what we want to just let you know what we've done. I believe the next steps just have to be sorted through the finance department and the ability to establish a committee for us to walk through and approach people that potentially could receive the heritage status.
So we did attempt this before with the committee and found that no one had responded.
Right. I think this is something that we would want to embark upon with a thorough communications process and take a few months to do that, and then ask for those members to come forward and implement it into one of our open houses, because I think that there's a lot of positive implications for the homeowner that I think that they might want to exercise. So I think it's just understanding what it really involves.
Yeah, I don't think we marketed it very well out there the last time I was around for it. Councillor Smith.
I actually still have a presentation from the gentleman that had put it together, the heritage package. Joe Thomas's, his name escapes me right now.
Well, there was John Eldroyd and Peter Matheson did a.
Yeah, but there was another fellow that was involved in that initial presentation that they made over at Gallery 2, or not Gallery 2, that's Studio E.
Yeah.
What's his name? Joan Thomas's Eric?
No.
Cold bottle glasses.
Teacher, the
Oh,
music teacher.
Used to have.
I hate that.
Yeah,
anyway,
we get points.
yeah.
All right, so yeah, those are the things we don't want to lose, that background.
So I have it on that
It's
file.
great that we're catching up on that file, that we're not, sort of losing all that work that was done by some of those committees. Good work. All right, and we have on the table the acceptance of the report? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, is there any feedback from the surrounding property owners this morning about the closure of the second road closure, Sagamore and Second? I see no hands. And that was part of the process here?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, the next steps are for us just to raise title now and to dispose of that asset.
Can I have that motion? Councillor Doherty. Further discussion or questions? An interesting file here because it involves two pieces of property quite close together there. It got me a little confused, but I'm clear now. All right, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. And the monthly reports, a busy month. I can see him going over them. There's been a lot of activity. Mr. Allen, do you want to walk us through that?
Sure, Mr. Mayor. So from the finance department, we completed the tax sale on the last Monday of September. The tax permission, the permissive exemption bylaw was given the first 3 readings and advertised in the newspaper. You'll see that in the local newspaper. We've been successful in getting over 120 suppliers signed up for automatic deposits. So now we can move away from paper bills towards electronic billing, which should save us a significant amount of money in stamps, stamp costs, because that went up considerably to our organization. Preparation of the financial plan amendment, which you'll see later on today. The Head Start program, Councillor Wires will be speaking about that, but we've had staff involvement on that. IT meeting, updating with the regarding the asset management plan, because we talked about doing this and we've been seeking funding from outside sources, but moving towards our GIS system, which was in the 2014 financial plan. The campground, training for the BATM. I mean, you can see the list there, Mr. Mayor. It's been a busy month in finance.
BATM, that's that secret organization you want to.
Yeah, no, we as most communities in BC belong to this. This is the financing IT or basically the software that runs most municipalities in British Columbia. That we input our data and it helps collect it, and yeah, yeah, that is the secret organization. The manager of development and engineering. So the beautifications are nearing completion downtown. The revisions of the subdivision servicing bylaw, which you'll see today. We've had 5 development inquiries over the last little bit. Received another inquiries regarding 7 inquiries regarding our property. So we're trying to keep track of these, and I know that you've received some further requests. Doing the update of the heritage report. We're working on a bit of an economic status report for presentation and deliverable to the community to let everybody see kind of what's been going on with all the work from the city and outside agencies. Development permit, variance permit. The next steps, we've met with the regional district to discuss the next steps regarding the community garden project or the demonstration garden. So it's been busy in that department. The development inquiries have been especially interesting because it does take up a lot of time for the manager there. The manager of operations and public works, drainage improvements. You can see that the machines have been out working on getting the snow off the shoulders of the road to protect our assets. The ATV staging area, which is the council approved an in-kind contribution to that. Road patching and base repair. So the guys have been out doing a lot of work in the alleys along the roads. Still working on the grave restoration. We're actually going to be doing an enhancement to the cemetery site where you'll be able to walk into the site now and be able to find out where a loved one is located, where their grave is. So you'll be able to have a little bit of a map to find them rather than walking through the site and trying to find it. So we're doing almost like and I hate to use this reference, but it's almost like you are here, like you'll see in the mall, and then you'll be able to see kind of where to go. The parks preparation for the winter months, and then education upgrading as part of our team. Working on the water metering project. Again, the East Zone Reservoir improvements continuing. Cross-connection control and installation of the grinder repeller kit for pump 2. So we were receiving some challenges with our sewer pump there, so we've upgraded that. The electrical department, preparing it, tendering for their Riverside reconductor, which actually we tendered out. Interesting process. So we tendered it out, and we tendered it out with a budget of 100,000, and the only bid that we received came in at 175,000. So it'll be shelved, and we'll try to work with the contractor to work it down. But if not, it'll come back to council in 2015 for further reconsideration. Yeah, you can see that moving through the whole process, it's been an extremely busy month in all aspects of the department. Again, continuing on with the education for the succession planning in the organization. Continuing with our electrical metering audits. So, Mr. Mayor, what we've just a bit of an update. We've seen a document going around where people are actually being encouraged to put locks on the meters, on the electrical meters. That actually puts the volunteer firefighters at significant risk when if there was ever to be a situation at a home or proximal to that. It actually puts further liabilities on the homeowner, so we're encouraging them to not tamper with the electrical system. I don't think that anybody would ever intend to put a volunteer firefighter at risk, but it does. If the fire department actually goes in and removes meters in the event that there's a fire in the area to cut the power when the electrical department is not available. We are replacing meters and having them tested, and Alex is going to be here tonight, but we are, with the meters that come back that still work, we are putting those old ones back because we're not simply just getting rid of meters that currently work. And that'll be for further discussion with our electrical engineer tonight, but we're just encouraging people to not tamper with the electrical system. The city owns the electrical meters, and we don't want to see anybody getting hurt, and we're just encouraging people to not do that. We've continued on with the tree trimming, education, received some information from Fortis, continuing to work with BC Hydro and Fortis on initiatives. But you can see that department's been extremely busy. And again, for the Director and Manager of Community and Corporate Services, this department with the elections process is extremely busy. Making sure we have everything in order, making sure that all of our information is prepared properly for the candidates, making sure the candidates are receiving all the information. You can see that the communications that have been going out in preparations for all the different events that we've been working on. It's been an extremely busy month. Building and bylaw services. So you can see that we've had 9 unsightly properties at various stages of cleanup. 16 unlicensed vehicles removed. It's been very, very busy. To the end of September, we've had $3.1 million in building permits issued out. Now, 1.3 of that is City Hall. But taking that into consideration, you can see a significant uptake in our community for permits. We've seen a lot of positive response from the building department, and it's been an extremely busy month there. And the fire chief, you can see that the total calls for September were 44, 17 fire, 2 rescue, and 25 first responders. Continued during the recruiting. It's been successful for the fire department for volunteers. The education piece there, updating our emergency response program. The volunteers held their first their 21st golf tournament. And then the volunteers attended the Rock Creek Fair to represent the current fundraiser. So it's been a busy month for the volunteers. I don't know if they went in with their shirts off for that one, Mr. Mayor, so because they're promoting their calendar, so I'll leave that for the fire chief to explain. And that's all the reports. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are. Thank you.
Yes, Thompson.
Yes, just some clarification through you to the CAO on blocking their electrical meters. What are they doing? Are they closing them and putting a lock on so that you cannot read or access them?
I believe they're trying to prevent the city from accessing them. We've seen a petition that was out in the public, and people were encouraging others to do something that would potentially put them in harm's way and others in harm's way. And I don't think that was the intention. I think it was a misunderstanding of information. But we're encouraging. I don't know how they're doing it, but they're just recommending for people to lock them in place. And again, I mean, if the volunteer firemen show up there and they're trained to remove these meters, and if they get put into a situation that compromises their lives, as a result of one of these meters basically not being there, where glass could come out of a house. There's all kinds of things they encounter as a fireman. And the last thing they need is another hurdle in their way, because people, not understanding the process. Our electrical engineer will be here tonight to explain it a little bit further, but I don't know exactly what they're doing to lock them in place. Some people have been encouraging them to lock them in place.
So this is a recent, Your Worship, a recent petition or occurrence that's been happening?
The phenomena is.
Well, we've had one resident that actually has locked it on, and we are sending them a letter to let them know that it will be removed. Our bylaw enforcement officer will be there to remove the lock. But there are fines for tampering with the electrical system.
Yes.
That we don't want residents to incur, because I think it's just maybe a lack of understanding or lack of information that's being shared. But we'd be happy to, to let them know that when the meters go out for testing, they come back as being okay, that they're going back in. When the meters come back and they're no longer available, we can't put them back in. We have to put the newer modern meter, which is kind of our one-way communication meter to allow us to read the meters. So that's what we're doing right now. So that's what's happening with them. And I don't know who's doing it or how many people have done it. We're just, when our guys go out to do their inspections, they're finding that potentially, we found one that somebody has locked.
That's unfortunate. That's
Mr.
very
Houston,
unfortunate.
and then Donna.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to expand on that a little bit, what we're finding is they're actually putting a band around the base of the meter. So like a metal band so you cannot pull it off and then they lock it. There's a physical lock they put on it. So that's what we're running into. So when we come up to it, we're seeing a band with a lock there.
Right. Donna.
Okay, it helps empower us to understand why people might be doing this. My guess is they'd like to have a say on what goes on their home, in their home, and a reassurance about safety and that they're okay with it. So if the city were to engage in communication with them, if they felt they had an agreement with the city regarding what type of meter is on their home and they felt safe about this, my guess is they probably wouldn't try these protective measures. And that might be, a good PR approach too, to communicate with any individuals who are doing that to get an idea. Maybe they have a concern about RF or something else to do with smart technology. And as Mr. Allen said, there's the possibility of getting the previous model back if it's working. So even if it's someone else's, maybe that would be a possibility. If they were reassured that they would get it back, maybe they'd be agreeable. So just as a suggestion.
And, I think that there are reasons behind it, and our personal approach to it at this point should identify and look at those and see if we can mitigate their concerns. So that would be our approach to our bylaw enforcement as well, ensure that we're sensitive to the fact that there is a reason behind it.
Just one last question, Your Worship. My understanding is that all of the city's electrical meters are the ones that are red.
One-way reading.
One-way reading.
Yeah.
So no meters within the city are read manually.
No, I don't believe so. I don't know. Roger, do we have any that we manually read?
Residential, I'm talking.
I'm going to say no also. I can check into that, but I'm pretty sure it's all read one way.
Yeah, so that was the technology that was installed, but I believe we own the electrical utility. I mean, I don't know how long we've had it, but the electrical meters have been in place since I'll have to check the details, but I think like 30, 40 years maybe. Maybe even longer. We own the electrical utility starting back when the power was being brought into the city from the dam in the 40s. It's gone back, and the electrical meters have been in place in our community for a long, long period of time. And I just don't know, the information is out there. It's just a matter of, we just want to make sure that nobody gets hurt as a result of this. We don't want to see homeowners being encouraged to do something that is potentially going to put their lives at risk or others at risk. And I think that's what we want to make sure that people aren't doing anything that, they're not aware of what they're doing, because basically somebody has to be an electrician
or a trained emergency responder to deal with these situations. So we just don't want to see anybody getting themselves hurt.
Councillor Wire?
Your worship, through you to our CEO, that would impact their homeowners insurance, would it?
Absolutely. We've contacted the underwriters, and if a homeowner's done something that contravenes the fire department from actually, if there was an event at their home and somebody has manipulated or played with the meter incorrectly and they're not a qualified professional, they would potentially null and void their home insurance, and the underwriters have told us that. So people are being encouraged to do things that are maybe putting themselves at significant risk and others at significant risk, and potentially jeopardizing their home insurance. And we're just trying to encourage people to not do that and contact the city. We'll be glad to help, but yes.
Donna, and then Les.
Clarification, what percentage of the residential electrical meters are being replaced?
What percentage of the residential electric meters are being replaced or checked for replacement? Roger?
If I may, this first round, I believe we're doing 450, and it's gonna be over a 3-year term here. So it's an annual ongoing check that we're doing based on their 10 years are up, right? Every time, when it's 10 years, we gotta go and check them.
Right.
So one third for this year and 1/3 next year?
That's our plan, yes.
Okay, and we had Les and then Gary.
Well, I'm just curious, from Don's previous question, people might be left with the impression that there's a menu of meter types we can select from. Is that true?
I believe that our electrical engineer will be here tonight, and I don't know enough about the electrical meters to speak to them, other than the fact that our electrical engineer will let us know what type of technology and what will work within our system with our current operating devices that we have. And he'd be glad to answer questions tonight. So I think that's a great question to potentially arise tonight.
Councillor Smith?
Yeah, just a clarification of Donna's question. I think she asked how many meters are being replaced.
The percentage of residential.
Right. So you're not talking about replacing them, you're talking about checking.
Correct. That's correct.
I wanted to make that very clear.
Only the ones, only the
A
ones.
third at a time.
Yeah.
Donna?
Well, mine was replaced unexpectedly and checked, so it is replaced, and then they take it away and check it, and then some come back. Is that correct, Roger? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, practically, you have to have something in that base before you can have your house.
She's asking what percentage are being replaced. It's whatever ones don't pass inspection. So we don't know. So they send them off, and if they don't pass the inspection, then they have to be replaced with a new meter.
But in the meantime, it's replaced. Mine was replaced.
Yeah, it has to be replaced.
Yes.
Okay, we beating it.
Well, I was just gonna say, Mr. Mayor, there's an incredible amount of finance department time that's required when we take a meter out and then we bring it back, and when the calibration's done and all these things are done, we have to, somewhere along the line, we have to capture that billing period. Because we bill every 2 months. Between that cycle, it's the amount of input that goes into our system to capture those 450 residents, and then we take that information back out and put back in the other meter to accommodate the residents. I mean, it's an incredible cost on the city. And, you know, in looking at this, it's not a sustainable action item, but what we're trying to do is make sure we extend the life of these assets. But what we're dealing with is, you know, it does have significant costs. So every time we, you know, we have to send out the bylaw officer to deal with these things, another cost to the city. If we continually spend this time to do these things, it is a cost to all of the taxpayers, and they subsidize the actions of others. So it's just something we have to be aware of when we're doing these things. It is,
And we are fully aware of that.
I just wanted to make a comment that meter testing is not unique to the Grand Forks Electrical Utility. It's all electrical utilities, including BC Hydro, that have to check their meters for accuracy.
Right. Final comment, no.
Okay, great. Mine was changed unexpectedly, and I had questions regarding RF, and I was told by staff that I could get one that didn't emit, and I would pay per reading of, well, actually I was told $25 a month. So that was provided to me as an option. And what I asked, because that's about $300 a year, I asked for more information on the particular new electrical meter that was put on my home. And now that was put up recently. So I'm about to figure out which electrical meter was put on my home to make an informed decision. But that's what happened in my situation.
All right. Finish off your statement.
Yes, this is regarding what was presented by Mr. Allen, a different topic. About a month ago, 2 council meetings before, I had a question about the elections and the machine. And the council and staff had agreed they would check what year the DS200 was, which model year. I was just asking as a follow-up on that.
Your worship, I sent the question of Ms. Warnock's off to our software gal, and we're still waiting for a reply.
Okay,
The question is out there, I'm just waiting for the answer to come back.
thank you.
All right. That's it? Okay. So we are moving down to proposed bylaws. Or did we make a motion to accept all those reports from staff? I don't think we did, Councilor Doherty. All those in favor? And moving down to financial plan amendments, what we're being asked to do here is recommend to the October 20th regular meeting, the first 3 readings of the financial plan amendments. And if you've gone through it, you'll see it's captured all those little things that we've decided to do since we had approved the financial plan. So that should go fairly smoothly. I think council is quite clear on what we've added to that list. So this is a motion to recommend to the October 20th. Councilor Doherty, all those in favor? And the next one is our subdivision development bylaw. And I don't totally understand it, but I understand the intention here from what Mr. Allen has said previously as well, that at this point we're looking at a greater amount of control and flexibility in being able to manage some of the new pictures that we have of asset sustainability. Mr. Allen.
Mr. Mayor, I think the subdivision servicing bylaw sets the standards for our community for if we're building a road, a sidewalk, it'll determine widths, it'll determine fire, storm drainage, it'll determine all the details that a developer or we would develop towards. The idea behind this, though, Mr. Mayor, is in the first, second, it suggests that maybe we go to first and second and third reading on October 20th. But I'm going to recommend that if I could ask council to make a friendly amendment to the recommendation, to give the first 2 readings on that day, and then move to public consultation. Because what we're asking the community to say is, you know, we want to give you a pot of money, and we want to say to you, this is all you have, and where do you want to spend your money? Because what we're saying here is these are the standards that we're looking at. We don't want to impose the standards. What we want to say to you is, if you want to do, how wide do you want to see your sidewalks? How much money do you want to put into sidewalks? How much money do you want to put into the roads? How much money do you want to put into the water system, the sewer system, the parks, these areas, and give everybody a bit of a snapshot of how much money they actually have to spend. Because we have $127 million in assets that we have to replace and advertise, and we have to have a plan in place that'll do that, which we do, but we have to talk about our standards. So you might notice that 68th Street is just a little bit narrower. And as we look at all of our streets in our community, we have to start to look towards that, because we can't afford to have, you know, basically blacktop areas in our community, because we have to amortize those assets and replace them. So we would like to ask council to consider moving it to the first 2 readings and then have a public open house on it to ask the public to provide some feedback.
Councilor Wires.
I'll make that friendly amendment to the.
Okay, so this, the first one we're doing is the old bylaw.
Okay.
But I think you line those up with first and second reading. You don't want to do third on one and not the other.
Exactly.
Okay, so excuse me. The first motion then, Councilor Wires makes, is to rescind the previous bylaw, recommend first and second reading to the October 20th regular meeting of council. That's your motion.
Yes.
Regular. Any questions, comments? All those in favor? Opposed, carried. And the second one If someone would like to frame that as well, and for first and second reading, this is the new rules of the subdivision that we are going to force them, Councilor Vershagen. We would bring them into a public domain for discussion. Ready for the question? Question, Michael, what's the matter?
No, yeah, I just let's take all the coughing. We have first responders here. Yeah.
That's a good one. All those in favor? Thank you.
I just don't want to get sick.
No, I'm good. Yeah, we're gonna wade through here. Yeah. And the next item is the sewer repeal bylaw, and I would ask for some explanation of the implications of this, Mr. Allen.
Sure, Mr. Mayor. I've asked Dee Dee to be able to be here to answer any questions that may arise, but essentially we have an old sewer regulations bylaw that is somewhat antiquated. The new bylaw will allow us to set specific standards, so we won't be able to see our treatment plant get upset. And what I mean by that is somebody dumping down the wrong chemicals down into our sewage treatment plant, that which will stop it from working. Because for those that are aware, that our sewage treatment plant is essentially alive, and sewage treatment plant requires some specific standards to ensure that we don't upset the operation of the plant. Along with that, it allows us to set standards for enforcement and development standards for the future. So it's a pretty comprehensive document that you're going to be seeing, but essentially we're going to be rescinding the existing bylaw and approving the new bylaw at the same time.
At the same time, well, not quite the same time. The same process.
Same process, yes. Simultaneously.
Don't confuse me. All right, so the first issue here is to rescind the old bylaw, so a motion to bring this to the October 20th meeting. Councillor Smith. Discussion, all those in favor. And the second item is to introduce the new rules and regulation. Councillor Kendall makes a motion to refer to the October 20th meeting, and discussion. I wonder how we are going to engage the public here.
Well, Mr. Mayor, if I could, we could bring it if we want. Nobody really likes to talk about sewage. I mean, but it's one of those things that staff will manage. We could receive comments from anybody in the next little while. I mean, to have an open house on this topic might not be as exciting for people, because we're talking about biological demand, we're talking about flows, we're talking about contamination levels, we're talking about up billing processes, maybe some things there, but I don't think there's substantial changes there. I don't know. This process will allow the community to participate in the discussion, but if council did want to move this to a separate open house, we could. We don't usually receive a lot of feedback on sewer.
Not exciting. All right, so we have it on the table that we refer this to the October 20th for first, second, and third reading. And that motion is on the table from Councillor Smith.
Yeah, Councillor Kendall.
Councillor Kendall made that. All right, question, all those in favor? We have no other items, no light items, and I think we should open this up for questions or comments. I would like to congratulate the Chamber of Commerce. James is here for winning a prestigious award as well. It's a difficult area to manage. I mean, Councillor Wires and myself know from personal experience that you have a tremendous challenge to pull all those diverse groups together and create that regional chamber and keep it alive. So congratulations, James.
Thank you.
Further comments or questions? Hearing none, a motion to adjourn. Councillor Doherty.
Just wanted to point out that Shaw's policy is this won't be broadcast while the election period is on.
Right, okay.
So this is the web, and that's where the only place we can see it if they weren't here. So that's it.
Well, thank you, then. All right, and we are adjourned.